Hi, I'm Sophie from Sophie's World with yet another Q&A. This one is number, can you believe it, 14. Number 14. Q&A number 14. How do you guys come up with these questions? By this time, I would think you're out of asking questions. You guys should all be reporters. Okay, so I have question and answer number 14 for you right now. Starting with Autumn C. And she says, what is the most difficult craft you've ever made? Okay, now I did answer a question similar to this, which was about duct tape. And I said the most difficult thing that I'd ever made was these duct tape prom dresses. That was incredibly difficult. But for me, the most difficult crafting that I ever do is sewing. I am not very good with a sewing machine, and as my husband Scott can attest to, there have been many times when for my business I have had to sew something, be it a prop or a costume or something. I've had to sew it, and those are the worst possible times for you to ever come upon me, because I am usually in a very foul humor because my string has tangled, or I can't get the motor to work right, or it's all tied up. It's a mess. So me and sewing, we're not the best of friends. The worst project I ever had to do for a sewing project was I made a ginormous, and when I say ginormous, I mean ginormous, form-fitting AstroTurf cover for this bar mitzvah that I was doing. And we covered this entire island, and it had all these jigs and jags and cutouts and all this stuff. And I literally had to measure it first and make the pattern and then sew AstroTurf together to make this thing. Now, it turned out beautifully and it was amazing, but I will never do that to myself again, because that was possibly one of the worst crafting experiences I have ever had. So Autumn C, the answer is sewing, and AstroTurf is the next big thing. Angelo S asks, would you ever want your own TV show? Well, here's the thing. I love being in front of the camera. I love when I go up to Sacramento and do Sac & Co with Melissa up there. It's really fun. I love being on television. I love doing these live streaming events that I'm now doing for Curious.com. It's really fun to be in front of the camera. I really enjoy it. I really love connecting with my audience. I will be very honest with you. A television show would be awesome, but the one thing that I'm not good at, and I'm gonna reveal to you guys a deep, dark secret. I am terrible at learning lines. It's really, really hard for me to learn lines. So if I had a television show where I could be myself and I could, do the things that I do naturally, which is what I do now, nothing is ever scripted. If I could do that, yeah, I'd love to do a television show. Or I'd love to do something where I could be like the voice of something, where I could read and have the lines in front of me. But learning lines and doing like a sitcom or something like that would be tricky. And to tell you the truth, you guys probably wouldn't want to watch it. Anyway, Angelo, I'd love to do TV as long as I didn't have to learn lines. Okay, Craftontastic. I always get that wrong. I always want to say Craftastic, but Craftontastic asks, how do you come up with all of your designs? And when was your first party that you ever did? Okay, so the way we come up with our designs is we just play with the materials. And I have to be completely honest, a lot of the times it's the materials that speak to me. And also my sister, who does a lot of designing as well, we just create as we go along. Now, we do sometimes see something that we want to try to imitate or try to design. But for the most part, it's playing and playing and playing. We make a lot of mistakes. I do things over and over and over again. Before it ever gets to camera, I'll do something about 8-10 times. It's incredibly crazy how many times I'll do something to make sure that it works. But the thing about it is that it all just kind of happens naturally. And then you ask about when was your first party. Okay, so the first party that I ever did would have been for my baby sister Frida. And that would have been when I was maybe 17 years old, 17 or 18 years old. I threw my first party for my sister. I also did a lot of parties on my own for myself, but my first party that wasn't for me would have been for my little baby sister when she was 3 years old. And that was really cute. It was very, very cute. The Snazzy Girl says, what got you into crafting? So the things that got me into crafting were basically family. My family was a very artistic family, is an artistic family. My dad is a sculptor and painter. My mom is a painter. My Grammy was a teacher. And we would always sit around and do crafts. We had a puppet theater when I was, a professional puppet theater when I was a kid. And my aunt taught me how to make puppets when I was 5 years old. And I started making puppets for the puppet theater when I was 5. I'd bring home library books on how to make special effects happen. I mean, I've been doing this since I was a little tiny kid. And so really, what got me into it? Family. Family got me into crafting. And I've always been very, very thankful that they did. Smurfette22 asks, when you were little, did you do crafts? Well, Smurfette, I'm so sorry. I just answered your question. Yes, I started crafting when I was 3 years old. I probably started crafting before that. I started writing on the walls with crayons, which was not a good thing to do, and I don't suggest that you do it. But I started writing on the walls with crayons when I was like 1.5. As soon as I could hold a pencil and a crayon in my hand, I started drawing on surfaces. So I've been basically artistic my entire life. Aubrey M says, how many rolls of duct tape do you think you have counting the ends of the roll? Okay, so this is a funny question. I wish we could turn this camera around so that you could see. I literally, as I'm looking over here, there are 4 gigantic garbage bags filled with ends of the rolls. And then in the back behind me, there's another box filled with ends of the rolls. So I've got to have at least 400 or 500 ends of the roll. At least 400 or 500 ends of the roll. And now at this point in time, as far as duct tape goes, that I take to my events and stuff, I have 4 full racks, and each one of those has 20 in that. So there's 80 full racks there, and then I have another box that is filled with about 100 replacement rolls. So right now I have about 180 working rolls, and I would say 500-600 end of the rolls. I got a lot, more than any human being should have. Yatunde O says, do you think you'll ever have kids? Well, the thing about it is this. I am now 50 years old, so I don't think I personally will ever have kids, but that doesn't mean that I don't foresee children in my future. Who knows? When I finally retire, maybe I'll become a foster parent or something like that. Or, I don't know, I might find a kid that needs to be adopted. We'll see. But right now, I don't think I'm going to have kids of my very own. I love kids and I love working with kids, but unfortunately, kids are not in my own future right now. And Victoria B says, what are your mom and dad's names? I love this question. So my mom and dad, who are 2 fantastically fabulous people, their names are Sue and Al Maletsky. That's my mom and dad, and they are both very, very happy and healthy, and I hope they stay that way for a lot longer. So that's it for Q&A number 14. You guys ask great questions. If you got more questions, make sure you leave them below. Now we have 14 of these, you guys, so if you really want to like do a Sophie Q&A fest, you can start with number 1 and go all the way through. They're all there on YouTube, and hopefully you'll come up with even more questions. So we'll have another one. All right, check us out, Sophie-World.com.